have a little group here in Doha, Qatar. These young professionals formed themselves together and they called themselves, us included, Doha Happy Pillars. DHP. I would like to present to you our young people as they introduce the panelists. We would like to welcome you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting the challenge. And here you are now. And
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. I would like to request each and everyone to introduce yourselves.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jelor. I'm a missionary, moonlighting as a nurse. And I'm 37 years old and I'm married. Happily married.
Amen.
Hello, I am Valerie de los Santos. I am a nurse as well. And I'm 32 years old. And I'm single.
Amen.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Kayari Trazo. I am 32 years old and working as a nurse as well.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jaislyn Hirona. I am a nurse, the fourth nurse here, and I am 32 years old, still single.
Amen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margo Villanueva, 29 years old. I am not a nurse. But I'm an office secretary. I can also be a nurse's secretary. And I'm happily married.
Hello, good day everyone. My name is Nino Francisco. I'm 37 years old and I work here in Qatar for 7 years now as an engineer. I work as a maintenance engineer for a private company here. I'm 10 years marriage already.
Wow.
Almost 10 years marriage and a father of 2.
Amen. Despite of all these differences of status, and despite of us all being in the Lord, as Christians, we are not exempt from depression.
True.
No?
True.
And with the past pandemic, it's not past, it's still ongoing.
Still ongoing.
It's still ongoing. And depression is still there. So the first question goes to Brother Nino. Brother Nino, across me. Father of 2.
Yes.
Father of 2. So Brother Nino, as a man, as a male creation of God, so do men get depressed? Do you believe that men get depressed? And why do you think men go through depression?
Yeah, I think men get depressed very well, yeah, for me, I think that it's based on what I also research about depression. I think it's more prevalent for with men. By the way, I did not experience a depression, but I experienced anxiety.
Anxiety. Oh yes, yes.
Anxiety attacks.
Yeah, yeah.
And one thing I can say with anxiety is that for me, the first time it happened to me, I think I want it to be only me. The first time it happened to me, I'm already married, and I don't want it to share with my wife. For me, I think it's a way of trying to show that I am strong, or I don't want to bother my wife, or I want it to solve it by myself. But once I got that over time, repeated occurrences of this of that thing, I think it is very much or it's very good to have this shared with somebody. The first time it happened to me, I'm still not here. I was in the Philippines, but when it happened to me, I'm just thinking that it's just, I think it's better that it's just me. I just keep it by myself, and that is the hardest part. That is the hardest part because I was in like the ordeal that you are experiencing during that time. That whole, I think that runs for almost 1 hour. It's very, I don't know, I cannot say anymore. It's really a bad thing to happen to someone that has that. It's like that you are in a room, the room will collapse on you, your heart is pounding. And the first time it happened to me, it was really strange, and it was really bad thing that I think my heart, something will happen to me. I could die here and nobody will know, things like that. And that time I said that I better keep it to myself, because for men that time, for me, I thought that it is like a weakness when I tell that to my wife.
What do you think?
If I may add,
Yeah.
it's the nature of men to show their masculinity.
Yes.
You know,
And that's the perception of the
of
society as well.
society. Yeah.
So men are
Men are strong. Men needs to be independent and to be a role model, because you are men. That's one thing.
And here we are focusing so much on women.
Yeah.
Women's anxiety, women's depression, without knowing that the men are actually facing probably double the struggle.
Actually, if we will compare the statistics with regard to suicide,
Yeah.
men are the statistics of men who committed suicide is higher
Higher
than the female.
than women.
You know.
Exactly. So, dear sisters, let us not forget that our brothers are not always strong. Not always. Although they are built to be. God has designed men and women in such a way that women are responders and men are initiators. But our brothers are still people, and they still go through certain things, in life, and they need support, and they need help as well.
And if I may add, not only for our sisters, also for men, no, that are experiencing it the first time or the second time, or maybe they have not experienced it. Let this be a message to them that you should ask for help. Tell it to somebody you are confident with, to somebody that you know, somebody you trust, because it helps. It really helps. When I experienced it the first time, and the later times that I experienced it, sharing with my wife, it's really different, a different thing.
Yeah.
When
It made a difference.
it made the difference.
With that regard, depression knows no gender.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think? Because then, men or women, you go through depression the same way. The only difference is in coping. And we're going to talk about coping later on the third part. But thank you. Thank you, Brother Nina and Brother Jador, for sharing your thoughts. Our next question goes to Sister Langley. Sister Langley and Sister Val, actually. Since there are women here. Marga, of course, as well. But we're going to start with Sister Langley and Sister Val. So, ladies, as a frontliner, so Sister Langley and Sister Val are both frontliners, they're both nurses. Being away from your family during those first months of the lockdown, that was 2020, March of 2020. Yeah, and the high rise of cases. Was there ever a time that you just wanted to quit your job or do anything that you used to be so passionate about?
Okay, so for me, if I have to choose, being away from my family would not be the best option. And I can still remember early April 2020 when I was supposed to have my vacation in the Philippines, but it was canceled because my friends are telling me that you cannot go home because you cannot travel because there will be a total lockdown here in Qatar, and if you go home, you will not be able to come back and you will lose your job. So it was like really, and exactly 1 week before my my flight, we received a memo that from our corporation that we are not allowed to travel because they need us here. So our leave was being cancelled. All was being cancelled. So it was the time also late April when I was transferred to another hospital where you have to adjust for a new environment, new rules and regulations, and then we opened a new unit where nothing was there and you really have to work hard for it. And it was really a struggle. Plus, they changed our schedule of duty from 8 hours, 5 days a week, to 12 hours, 5 days a week. So it was really, you're juggling from being away from your family, from all the thoughts of you really have to double your work also, because you have to show up also with your new work environment and with this pandemic that is ongoing.
The fear of being infected.
Yes,
Yeah.
and not to mention also, a lot of people are being affected, and it was the time when the cases was increasing. Yes. And my family was not accepted by that. They were being infected by the disease, and my grandmother, my aunt's mother, died because of COVID-19. And it was really hard. Some of my friends said that it was really, they're losing their souls, their social life, and even their sanity, because they don't have the time to relax. That one, and of course, we all know that all of us are experiencing it.
Yeah.
It's not just for the frontliners, the nurses,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was very hard, but to the question that quitting my job was really not in my list, but not an option, right? I did not think of that. I know I did not experience depression, yeah, but it was not in my option to quit my job, because because of my job, I was able to provide for my family.
Right.
I was able to share to the people who needs help in a little way, and I was also like able to care to my patients, and it makes joy to my heart.
Yeah. So that's really something that you were passionate about already.
Yeah.
And even if, regardless of what was going on around you, you were still passionate and optimistic about things.
Yeah, you really have to think the reason why you came here in the first place.
Your motivation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
That's
have
very
to go
nice.
back to that one. And even if it's so depressing to think, still there's hope for us.
Yeah.
That someday soon we can have our vacation and to be with our families.
Very good.
Quitting job, I have the same thought with Lanley. I never thought of quitting, even amidst this pandemic. I never really thought about it. Although I admit it was difficult for all of us. Personally, it was also difficult for me, because that was the time, I think that was March 15, 2020,
Yes.
when they
The lockdown.
it
was imposed. Yeah.
Lockdown in Qatar started, and not just here in Qatar, but all over the world. Yeah, the cases were surging up in numbers, and plus my part, I think, in my experiences working amidst this pandemic in the hospital, since I work in the pediatric area, intensive care unit, I saw children who, I think that was later on, after how many months of the pandemic, when initially it just affected the adults, but then later on, the children who were exposed develop a complication which is called the multisystem inflammatory syndrome, right? So like it's somehow similar to Kawasaki disease, in which all the body organs are inflamed, so the inflammatory markers are high, there is risk for bleeding, risk for a lot of things, complications. So and it's new, something new. So
Sounds new to me.
so the healthcare professionals, the doctors, were just focusing on the symptoms, and watching these children struggle was difficult. Though I don't have a child of my own yet, but seeing them was depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it was depressing, and seeing the parents as well, because it's something like, I think the dangerous complication of it is risk, bleeding. So it was difficult. And so with the question, I never thought of quitting, but I felt depressed during that time. And I think since coping, I think we will discuss later, right?
Yeah,
But coping mechanism is the strategies that we use in face of an event, a traumatic event, right? So I think if we focus on adaptive coping mechanisms rather than like adaptive coping mechanisms such as, you know, relaxation, humor, support, those kinds of physical activity, while the maladaptive one is, you know, when we escape,
Exactly.
when
Run away
we
we turn to certain
Yes.
addictions,
Right.
and we turn to certain
when we soothe ourselves
Yeah.
unhealthily
Yes.
by taking alcoholic substances
Yes.
and those
Drugs.
things,
Fight or flight.
and self-harm,
yeah.
compulsion,
Compulsion.
So if we resort to the maladaptive coping mechanisms, I think that will bring negative impact on our physical, emotional, and mental well-being, thus leading us to depression. So, thank God personally, when I felt depressed, I resorted to the adaptive ones, and you know, talking to someone is
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like what Brother Nino said, it really helps. But not everyone, you know, understands this maladaptive, adaptive, whatever suits them.
Yeah.
The most common scenario is whatever suits them, that's what they would do.
Yeah.
And without the knowledge, yeah. I mean, because sometimes it takes a lot of understanding and education. And sometimes people just don't want to understand, you know, they just want to get soothed. Yeah, they just want to get soothed. So we praise God that we are here and we're sharing this. It's very important information for to our viewers. Thanks Val and thanks Lani for sharing. So our next question goes to Marga, our other lady, naman, the third lady in the group. So Sister Marga, what are your thoughts? So Sister Marga is an employee of a law firm. Is that right? Yeah. So she's an employee of the law firm. And she is only 29. She's the youngest, one of the youngest in our group here in Doha Happy Brothers, at 29 years old. What are your thoughts on the rise of depression among millennials?
Well, it's really sad. You know, we have this expression or saying in our country or in our language. We say, "Kabataan is ang pag-asa ng bayan," or in English, the youth. The youth is the hope of our future, right? So it's really sad that most of the millennials now are facing depression.
Yeah.
I remember in our younger years, the only things that, you know, the things that makes us unhappy is when we don't get to go out to play with our neighbors because our parents won't allow us to, or our parents won't allow us to eat sweets, chocolates, we want the snacks, or they won't allow us to watch TV. No, you sleep.
Yeah.
It's afternoon already. It's time
Go
for
to
you to
sleep.
sleep. Huh? No cartoons.
Depression.
That's and then you sleep. So none really would make us, you know, really depressed about. And one of the factors that I see, you know, in our generation now that really affects or contributes to this rise of the number of the millennials who are, you know, being affected by depression is the social media. Everything they see on the YouTube, Facebook, all the people they follow, they think that their lives are perfect. They're living a perfect life. Wow, they have good bodies, beautiful faces. Even the men now, you can see how many vain. Yeah, even men with beautiful faces. So men, they are all vain. So sorry for the word. Yeah, even men are beautifying themselves because that's what they see. That's the trend. So
it's confronting on the standards of the world.
yeah. So those who are following, especially the young ones, what they can see in the social media, what they're watching, they think that, wow, this is wow. I wanted to be like this person. I wanted to have that kind of whatever they have. And when it didn't met their expectations or what others are expecting from them,
They think they failed.
they feel they are a failure, and they feel unaccomplished and insecure.
Yes.
And another thing is that they end up measuring their worth by how many likes, how many shares, how many views they get from the videos they post. And if it didn't meet their expectation as well, of course they will feel that they are worthless, not so important. My friends didn't even like my post. My friends didn't even. It means what I'm saying is not, of any worth.
Yeah.
So that they end up, the millennials then they end up, having lower self-esteem,
Yeah. Right. So
having
low
anxiety and
self-worth. Yeah.
depression.
Just want to add what Marga's thought. Since we talked about social media or media exposure, I think one contributing factor as well is the members of the family. Members of the family. Parents. Because parents as well are busy with their careers. For them to be able to provide for their family, that they are not able to spend more time with their children. Yeah, monitor with what they're watching, seeing, or I'm sorry, but this is my observation, and this is also what the parents, what they call this, they're opening up to me as well with the problems on child rearing. Whenever, since they are far away from their children, because they're working abroad as well, they felt guilty for not being with the children, and for them to ease their guilt feeling, they resort to
Financial.
providing materials like gadgets. Most of the time it's gadgets, and since through a gadget a child can access the whole world, so that's the influence that they take in, not the figures of their parents. So that's probably one of the reasons why.
If I may supplement also impression to millennials, right? There's also this one thing about the millennials now are highly emotional people.
They're melodramatic. They're more
move-
melodramatic
yes,
now than
they move
adults
through
are
emotions.
saying.
If they feel this way, they do it.
yeah.
The world.
Because that's what's being promoted.
And
the
they're
world-
more impulsive.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The world is promoting freedom. It means the social media or the people around us, they're promoting
Do what you want.
do what you want.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Love
Yeah.
yourself.
Or be
Do
free.
what makes you happy.
Do what makes you happy. This is contrary to the Bible, which the Lord David, I think it's David in Psalms that he that controls his emotions or his self or have discipline is better than the kings who conquer cities.
Yes, correct.
Right? So as Christians, as a part of this family, we should encourage our youth to change their views on things. Those who are very vocal in their expression and are viewed by the world as strong people. Not all. Strong people knows how to control themselves in these situations. They don't want always to pick a fight and then argue on everything, on anything. This is another view. So I think also that contributes to a little bit about the depression. They react on emotion and then get depressed easily. And then
Yes.
I think one of the reasons as well why this practices are being adopted right now. It's because parents are afraid also to discipline their children in a way that they are afraid of the laws that being imposed. Right? Even the teachers right now. Before, during our time, if we commit mistakes, we were punished by our
The
teachers.
rod is not spared.
Yeah, right? But right now, teachers cannot even spank or cannot say something wrong with the children in education in the schools. So that's one thing that makes them I think emotionally not ready to face the world. I would say.
Our next question goes to Brother Jeller here beside me, a newly married man who just celebrated their first-year anniversary.
Praise God.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary. We're taping this actually on their day of anniversary. Is that today or was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, Brother Jeller, do you think, as a Christian, do you think it's wrong for Christians to fall into depression? Would you say that if that person is depressed, something's wrong with you, you're a Christian? Please tell us about your answer or your thoughts about this.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Peggy. With regard to that question, I think it's a very wrong notion for us to judge a person, especially our brethren, who are undergoing with depression, that he doesn't have faith in God. Because sometimes depression, we correlate depression into our faith. Actually, that's not. Nobody is exempted with regard to depression. Even our forefathers or our heroes of the Bible undergo with depression. Like King David, Elijah undergoes depression. But I would say that if your depression will lead you into sin, that's a different story. Okay? That's a different story. But if you are just depressed and you're just there, you're still doing God's work, then it's okay. So, and it's not a sin. Because depression it's either hormonal imbalances.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a disease actually. It's a mental health disease.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a physiologic, and it does not correlate with our
Faith, yes.
Again,
It
it has nothing to do with our faith. Everyone goes with depression, and nobody is exempted from this.
Christians or non-Christians.
Yeah, Christians or non-Christians. Even Ellen White undergoes depression actually. But as I would just like to read this as what Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 to 18. It says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. We fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So, in spite of whatever our situations we are in, especially during this pandemic, we hear everywhere, we hear bad news, disease of our friends, of our loved ones. It's very depressing to hear this news, but let us just speak or talk to someone whom we can trust. Let us completely give our trust to God, and also fix our eyes to Jesus. And share your troubles. Share your troubles. Don't hide it. Don't hide it.
Yeah. We're gonna touch a little bit on anxiety, brethren. And with anxiety, because anxiety also has been caused by this pandemic at large, because everyone is supposed to wash their hands, and everyone is supposed to have a social distance.
Yeah.
Wear masks, face shields for some countries. And I was one of those that fell into this bouts of anxiety at some point, that I kept cleaning our house. Every OC. I was actually obsessive compulsive on health topics with anxiety. My question goes to, I'll adjust this to the men na lang, siguro to Nino and to Danson and to Jeller here. And then for the women naman, I will address it to our ladies, to Marga, to Lami, and to Paro. So to our men, particularly Nino, no, because you were also in that, anxiety department. It kind of happened to you before. So do you think anxiety is more common in men or in women? We're not trying to create a debate here. Remember that we're only talking. But do you think? No, what do you think? Or maybe if you've done some research, I don't know, the statistics that Jello shared earlier, yeah? So from knowledge or opinion or observation from the community that you belong to, people that you work with, do you think it's more common in men or women? And this is anxiety, this is not depression.
Yeah.
Yes. This is anxiety. So is it common in men or in women? Why does your answer say so? Sige, let's start with Nino.
I think I'll give that to Danson because I will answer for men because I experience it. So I think Danson will answer the one.
Hello, good afternoon. Sorry. And I honestly think it falls on both.
Yeah.
It is not gender sensitive if it's men or women. When you're talking about anxiety, depression is another thing, leaning towards men. But anxiety, it's a natural response to a very significant stimulus. Alright? But anyway, it's an unwanted thing that's there, and then you respond to it, and you develop, you're anxious about a new thing that has come, taking an exam, yes. For some people, they react this way. For some people, they react this way. Anxiety is prolonged, anxiety is shortened, coping mechanisms kick in, coping mechanism is late to kick in the next day. So, it depends. It makes more sense if personality-wise, I think, for different personalities, for these melancholics and cholerics, you could have anxiety falls more on this personality than this personality. But for gender-wise, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, if I may add. I think it's with regard to anxiety, because depression is different story. With regard to anxiety, I think it's more prevalence in women, in a sense that women are more emotional. And as per Mr. Google here, it says that women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with anxiety disorder. And the prevalence of anxiety disorders is significantly higher for women, 23.4% than men, who is 14.2%. So that's maybe because of their hormonal imbalance, especially they have these monthly periods, and with their emotions as well.
Blaming on the hormones.
Not really blaming the hormones, but it's part of the system. I think so.
That's a quote. That's a quote our anatomy and physiology teacher always says.
Blame it on the hormones.
It is always the hormones' fault. By the way.
So, but I think that's one thing, because women are more emotionally than men.
And if I may add also, it's just not that because we women have those hormones.
Yeah.
But I think also, if you're a family, if you have your family, and then as a wife, or you really have to, I think you have mothers or the wife goes a lot of stress aside from the husband, aside from the breadwinner.
Because mothers knows what's needed.
They have to take care of the children. They have to make sure that everything is prepared, and
the husband will just work and provide.
I agree that we women are really more on being to have the anxiety, and because I experience that all the time. I tend to be so anxious of a lot of things, although I don't show it to the people around me. But I am really anxious.
You are anxious.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, and and I am stress-minded, really. But I don't talk about it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
hard.
and that's the problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't talk about it. That's why, and that's also why we tend to like separate our mood swings.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
Yes.
So I think one thing you need to improve is to talk it to, we're just here and
I'm on there. I'm on there.
I think one more factor also is the thought pattern.
Uh-huh.
The thought pattern that we have as an individual. I think that's for me that is a one of the factors that are there is there on the top of the causes for anxiety. Because for me personally, in my bouts of anxiety, it's always starts with how I think. It's always have that. I always have that the trigger, by the way, that when I am thinking about things deeply, or I don't think things deeply, that's where the anxiety kicks in.
So, with coping mechanisms, this question again goes to our gentlemen. Well, I think we already talked about it. The question is, how do men handle depression and anxiety?
if I'm depressed, it's very obvious on my part if I'm depressed. But I would just shrug it and talk. It's either I would talk to my wife or play. It's either I'll go outdoor and play basketball or whatever sports that will help me cope with my depression. I turn it the negative into my energy into positive thing.
I think it's best to know the triggers.
Right.
Yeah. Once you're in the bout of the anxiety and panic attacks, be mindful also that how you will cope on that one. Research helped me a lot. Research helped me a lot.
Getting educated.
Getting educated, getting help, will help you. But yeah, the most important thing that you need to understand your triggers. Like for me, the triggers for me is when I am alone. There's nothing that I am doing. On winter time, it's more prevalent for me during winter time. So by the time the winter comes in Qatar, I know what I will do.
Call your friends.
Call your friends.
That's why you're always gonna sleep over.
Yeah, and one more thing, by knowing your triggers, you know what to do. Like for me, I every Thursday, I have my carries. It's not that we're just going out or something. But
It's your coping. Your
coping mechanism.
Short one. I mean, men we like to put on this facade of macho-ness, and we can do anything. Just throw it at us. But nowadays, the world is changing. Actually, men, for you out there listening, women appreciate sensitive man.
Yeah.
Someone who can relate to their feelings. I read in a book when I was in college. I decided to read books. It's fascinating, human behavior and its relationships. It was a book on communication. It's a very famous book by John Gray. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. A very, very general thing. When men, Martians, they point in the book, go to depression or go to something, they actually hide in their caves individually. That actually happens. I don't know about men out there, but for me, it's actually partially true. Not every time, but or probably most of the time. But we tend to fight our own battles mentally. Just leave me alone. I can do this. After this, it's just back to normal. With managing depression, we should also get a thing or two from the Venusians, from the girls. Like what happens in their planet, as the book illustrates, when one girl has a problem, they go out in the parks and then group together. And then girl, I have a problem. Yes, And they told her, really? Don't worry, everything will be fine. We men, we're not, I can just imagine, you know, I can just imagine guys or in the table sitting down.
That's a no-no for men.
Patting each other's back. No, boy, it's okay. No.
How will men understand women this time? Because we also have a stigma. If men have the stigma, women have the stigma as well. Women face through the common saying that, oh, the minds of women are like bags. You open them and there's like a black hole inside.
Everything
have
you
to
can pull.
dig very deep to understand how women think. So how about you, Val? What's your take on that?
Yep, it's a black hole.
I think for me, when we talk about coping mechanisms, we may resort first in the maladaptive coping mechanisms, the negative.
The tendency.
Like escaping, withdrawing, like that, those kind of things. But I think the most important, not just for women but for men as well, that acknowledging that you need help.
I am an alcoholic, the anonymous.
Means that you need to you know that you cannot do it on your own, and you have to, like what they say, that opening up is, it may not be like opening up to a person, but I think opening up to God is big.
That's number one.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I would like to highlight. You must acknowledge to yourself that you really need help.
And if I may add, sorry, if I may add also for the coping mechanism, I think it's not only that individual that you should open up like that, because like people which encounters this at their first time, they don't know what to do. They will not open up because that's their first time. But I think it's also good to say that for the people who knows about this issue,
Open them up.
for the people that you think have the tendency to encounter these things, reach out. Yes, reach out. I appreciate the time when I was in quarantine. During quarantine, and also your husband. They send me an SMS without asking for that, because they know that once you are there in that quarantine facility for 10 days, it's enough time to get insane. So they reached out to me. They reached out to me, and I remember Brother Emerson sent me a list of things that I should do on the daily basis, like a scheduled program, so that I will
a workout,
meditation, things like that. And I really appreciate that one, because they know, you know about the thing. So for the people that knows about this thing, I think it's best, or shall I say, it's a very good thing that you reach out to these people, because we might know how they cope with that one. They might not reach out, but it will help for us or for them that we reach to them.
I praise God because He's sending people.
Yes.
To and He guides me as well. It's like there's a small voice telling me that my daughter, release it. I'll take care of you, and I've sent someone to whom you can share these burdens with. Another way that helped me cope up with the depression and the anxiety is the sports activity that we did. Kuya Nick, he kept on trying to let me out of the house. He felt it, although I don't say anything to him, but he felt it. It's just that he understands that I don't want to open up to him, but he understands, and he's always trying his best to get me out of the house. Let's go run. There's physical activities with Adventist and Kuya M.
Being, if you're an OFW, you're working abroad, you're not with your family, you have to belong to a group, or you have to find yourself friends or people whom you can call family away from home.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like that, for me, maybe it's very true that it's very difficult for me to share to someone, especially I consider myself the strong, independent woman nowadays, the 2020 women. Yeah, but it's a good thing to know also if you have that connection with the Lord, with your God, whom you always talk to. Because me, after I overthink, I talk to myself, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, of course. I ask questions and I answer myself. That is what I do. That is how I cope with my stress and with my anxiety. And sports really do help. Yeah. Learn things you don't expect you will learn. You will be committed to doing it, and it's really good to know that you have someone you can call, and that is God. Just bring it on.
Like what Brother Nino said earlier, that I would also like to echo is that we should also understand our triggers. So mental health, the challenge to our mental health really sometimes can come from our own ignorance. So when we're not educated, when we don't understand what our triggers are, and we don't understand, we don't know how to cope, and we thought that coping mechanism is wrong. It's not wrong. We thought that we should, like what Danson said, we wanna keep a strong facade, and that Marga also highlighted for women. We think that we're strong, independent women, and we shouldn't go out there and overshare. Yeah, I mean, don't overshare. But do share. Yeah, I mean, choose people you trust, reach out. Yeah, people you trust, people you know that you can rely on. Even your family, friends. The Lord, like Marga said, the Lord is going to bless you with people who will be your help and aid at any time of need. It's our prayer that you will be abundantly blessed. Thank you for watching our little contribution here to the Mental Health Challenge. Once again, this is Sister Peggy Molina, and in behalf of the Young Professionals group here in Adventist Qatar, we would like to wish you all a very blessed Sabbath day if you're watching this on a Sabbath day. Otherwise, a very good day, a blessed day, and a blessed time. May God bless you and abundantly enrich your health and wealth. Together, 1, 2, 3. Be a blessing!
Always keeping us close, but it's strange now. Dreams holding us closer.